Welcome to the Sisters Like Us podcast. I'm Lakin.
And I'm Allie, and we're here to share our perspectives as sisters from two different generations.
So grab a glass of wine
or a bottle,
and let's dive in.
Hello, we're back.
We're back.
Episode 4 of the Sisters Like Us podcast.
Very exciting.
We thought we would tackle a topic that is something that makes us similar and different, but really having nothing to do with our generations, and that is our experience in college and with sorority life.
Yeah.
You scared over there?
No, I just,
We're going to keep it PG, friends, and we're going to talk about our experiences.
Yeah.
And so I know we talked about this a little bit in the background info episode. I don't actually think I ever said. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which is a big, giant state school, like 50,000 students, massive state school. Austin is a big city, but it doesn't feel like you're in the city when you're on campus. Campus is separate. It's not like a, college town, but it is still a different experience than what you experienced. I definitely knew I wanted to join a sorority. It is not only a big thing in the South that, people join a sorority, but going to essentially out of state, even though I was originally from Texas, since I'd gone to high school in Illinois, I didn't know very many people. So I knew I wanted to join a sorority to be able to meet people. The other big thing I feel like that's important to note that's slightly different is we do recruitment in the fall, like right before school starts.
We do too.
Oh, I thought you did it in the winter. Like your big recruitment. I thought it was in like January.
It's like right when school starts.
I don't know why I had that backwards. Okay, I don't know.
I just think like ours is, so I went to DePaul, which I mentioned in the first episode. So like, it's just like so different. Like Greek life is like, I don't know, like 5% of like the people that go there. Like I thought it was actually more because like when you're in it, you feel like it's like a ton of people.
Right.
But yeah, and like we didn't have houses.
Oh yeah, houses, that's a big thing. Like, I mean, my sorority, my chapter's house at Texas it's over 100 years old. Like that house has been in our chapter for so long. And it's a big house that sleeps like 50 plus people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of the experience, both the sorority and the fraternity houses. And I mean, DePaul being in a city, how were you going to have a house?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was always the like designated house for like a frat or like sometimes a sorority. Like people would all live together. Sometimes they would live in like all 3 units of like an apartment building. But yeah, we weren't allowed to have houses because of that like law.
Oh, I didn't know I knew that was a thing in Pennsylvania, which is one of the things that actually deterred me from Penn State.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, I kind of liked not
having a house.
Yeah. Because honestly, like, save money. Because I know it costs a lot of money to live in
it was cheaper to live in the house. So let me tell you, that's actually funny. So when I was in high school at some point, and I think even though we had one different parent, I think our parents did have similar takes on money and how we were treated in terms of what was paid for and what was not paid for. But my parents said, we will pay for your college tuition and we will pay for your living expenses. But anything above and beyond that, going out with your friends, eating out, etc., a sorority is on you. So freshman year, I had to pay my sorority dues. They're not cheap. Yeah. It was very expensive. So I worked very hard that summer between high school and college. Fun fact, I sold Cutco knives, if you've never heard me talk about that before. That is what I did that summer. Yeah, I know, right? Flashback. So I worked hard that summer so that I could pay my sorority dues in the fall. Sophomore year, which you're pretty much required to live in the house sophomore year. Yeah. That's like part of it. That's how they keep the house full, as well as, I mean, you kind of want that experience. So you pretty much always live in the house sophomore year. And the way that it worked out, numbers wise, the cost of living in the house plus the dues was actually less than living in a dorm.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So I pitched my parents and was like,
okay, but I have a similar experience, but like not with the sorority house.
So I actually pitched them and said, it's cheaper. I'm saving you money by living in the house with dues. So will you also pay? They paid the dues because it was all encompassing and it was cheaper than living in a dorm.
I had to pay my dues, but like the DePaul dues were like compared to like a state school. Like, I mean, I paid for like the entire year, like maybe like $1,300.
Oh my gosh. I think mine was at least double.
And our chapter was all inclusive, which I guess we can say what chapters we were in.
Yeah, we should have said that. I have an Alpha Psi Delta.
And I was an Alpha Phi. But yeah, so I actually, when I had to pay my dues, I used the money that I got from my grad party. Because I like didn't have, like, so that was like the first thing in my bank account. Like, obviously I had a job, but like, so I was like, okay.
Here we go.
I was like, I'm just going to pay all inclusive. And they call it a day.
But what were you saying?
Oh, yeah. So I lived in the dorm for like the first, so DePaul's on quarter system, which is different from, obviously semesters. So we had a term, like, we didn't start school until like the week after Labor Day weekend, so like September 5th was usually around the time when we would start. And then we would go through Thanksgiving for the first quarter, and then we would have like a 6-week break from like Thanksgiving to like the week after New Year's. And then we had a winter quarter from January to like mid-March and then spring break, and then we went all the way till like the first 2 weeks in June.
Yep.
Which
is very different.
That sucked was like going into the summer, but like I loved the 6-week winter break.
And well, I will say we had like a good probably 4-week winter break, but we started back way earlier in August than you did, especially once you, speaking of sorority, factor that in, because school would start the week of like August 20-something. And then the week before that was actual recruitment. Mm-hmm. So it was a whole week, and we could talk about our recruitment experiences too, a whole week of the recruitment process. And then once you were an active, you had to get there a whole week before that to prepare. So we were getting back to school like early August.
Yeah. And like, I feel like it was nice I felt like we almost had a longer summer starting later, but then like all my friends
were done in May and you weren't.
And would leave early in August, so I'd be like,
yeah, what am I doing now?
But like that was only like when I was like first going to school. Like I lived in the city like all throughout college, so I never really felt like I like went home for school. I never had that really.
Well, yeah, because mom lived a mile away from you.
Yeah, but like I feel like going to a state school, like a good example is like during COVID, like everyone who like went to a state school during COVID like had to go home or like had to move out of their house or like you know wherever. And I just, like, it felt like school didn't even end. Like, I was just, like, still in my apartment and, like,
it was
whatever.
Basically just classes moved online, but everything kind of felt.
Yeah. But what I was going to say, so I lived in the dorm for a quarter. And then, like, so since DePaul's a private school, like, we don't have, like, the Chick-fil-A on campus, the Starbucks, the Panda Express. Like, we had, like, Brownstones, the Bean, like, just, like, little coffee shops, and, like, it was really subpar. But our, like, we called it the Stew, our student center. Like, the cafeteria, like, food was, like, awful. Like, I'm talking, not even high school, like, middle school cafeteria.
That blows my mind, because our on-campus food was actually great.
I feel like it was the same company. Like...
that we had in middle school?
Like, it's, like... It starts with, like, a C, and it's, like, a little, like, person. Like, it's the logo.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Besides the point. But anyway, so you paid a lot for room and board and the food. So I was like, this is such a waste of money. I eat out because I don't want to eat this food. And so there was this apartment building, like, down the street that, like, everyone lived in. And I think a lot of college campuses, like, have this kind of thing. It's almost like a elevated dorm.
Yeah.
But it was, like, apartments. And... I mean, it was pretty expensive. I mean, like, it was over $1,000 a month, I think.
And rent.
Yeah, but compared to living in the dorm, paying room and board, and, like, everything that's included, I also pitched and was like, can I move there instead? Right. And so, yeah, I had the college experience for a quarter, but then I
lived in an apartment. Right, so you've lived in an apartment like since a quarter into college.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
and this is actually the first year I re-signed a lease. So I moved the first quarter, like in 2018, and then after that lease ended in that apartment building, I moved. And then after that one ended, I moved again, and then I moved again, and then I moved again. So I moved 5 times, and now where I am now, I just re-signed, so I don't have to move again.
That makes me want to cry because moving is the literal worst.
No, it's actually the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. But
moving is literally the worst. And I first off didn't live in an apartment until I moved out of college to New York. So I ended up living in the house actually all 3 years because I took a position that needed. So that was the other thing. Not only were you required to live in the house at least one time during your your 10 years inactive, which most people again did sophomore year, if you took a certain position, you also had to live in the house. Mm-hmm. So I actually lived in the house sophomore, junior, and senior year. I mean, I graduated early, so it was only one semester, but yeah.
I just want to talk about that, like positions and stuff. Or maybe like just like the different, like there's just so many differences between like, well, also there's a difference between like the year that you rushed and the year
that's part of it too, is
where the generation kind of comes in.
Yeah, that it was 10 years later. Like when you threw out the 1,300 number, I mean, mine was easily double that 9 years earlier, you know? So I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it was at least double that, and it was 9 years before. So I don't know, though, how much has really changed.
Yeah, I feel like the most that has probably changed is like fashion. Trends, like those kinds of things. Or like
I see what the girls
behind like the recruitment videos.
That's true.
And, like those kinds of things. But like Rush, like I don't know if you're on like Bama Rush TikTok.
I've seen some of it. We already talked about this. I don't do TikTok, but
but like that they came out with like a documentary on it too, which is so bad.
What I have seen of it, Texas was a similar experience to Bama.
Yeah, it's like scary, like some of the stuff that goes on. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I just think ours was just like way more lax.
How many chapters total did they have at DePaul?
So we have 8.
Okay, we have 14, which honestly, in ratio of students, is not that many.
We have like the big 8. So like Alpha Phi, AZD, Chi-O.
You do not need to list them all.
But like, you know.
I can Google if they want to see. But I just mean the fact that you have 8 and it was 5% of your, or ish, whatever the number was, of your population, whereas we had 14, but we had massive chapters. I mean, we were talking 200 plus people per chapter.
We had like the biggest chapter on campus, and I think we surfaced like 90 something at one point.
That's a big difference. I mean, because we had 50-person pledge classes.
I think the biggest fraternity on campus is only about, only about 40 guys.
Whoa.
Maybe 50.
Wow.
It's just like, so the way I described it at DePaul, like when I talked to people about it, is like, it felt like our own little like high school. Because like everyone knew each other, like it was just like a core group. Because it was like, you know, it wasn't that many of us. Like everyone knew each other who was in Greek life.
Yeah, it was definitely not like that at Texas. There were pockets. Like we had other chapters that we interacted with, but I didn't know all of the other, you know, girls that were in Greek life. So let's do recruitment a little bit. Okay. So I don't know why I had it in my head you did winter. So like I said, Texas was a whole week because again, there's 14 chapters and it was intense, and it was again very akin to, if you've ever watched any of the Bama Rush stuff, the outfits that you have to wear, the matching clothes, the singing. Friggin' singing. Mm-hmm. There's still songs I can't listen to because we used them for recruitment and I can't unhear it.
We didn't do any songs that were like other songs. We just like had like songs in like,
the book. Well, we have the songs, but then we also like, I can never hear Dynamite.
AZD has one of the most catchiest songs, and I can't remember what it's like. One of them is so catchy. No, I know, but I remember like during recruitment, like I would like hear them.
Okay.
And I'd be like, oh my, like I just love
so catchy. That's funny.
Yeah. And I feel like the biggest difference is like when you were rushing, you went to the houses to rush.
Yes.
So at DePaul, like all of the sororities were just like in rooms, like in the student center. So like you had a room and it was decked out.
As for your sorority. So that is one thing that has changed at Texas, because I still stay in touch with our chapter and stuff since I was there, and that was like a COVID implemented change and they've kept it. Day 1 and 2, you used to have to visit all 14 houses. And I mean, you were there for like 30 minutes tops. Mm-hmm. By the time you got in and out and you were matched with your person, you talked to them for like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But you had to visit all 14 houses. And I just want to say that walking around in August in Austin, Texas was not ideal.
Oh my gosh,
it was not a good time.
Cried.
So now what they do is that first day is virtual. I don't really fully understand how it works and how you would be possibly rank as the like PNM, the potential new member, how you would possibly rank the 14 chapters with this virtual experience. Yeah. But that's how they do it now. And then you don't start going to the houses until the next day when you're down to 10. Still a lot of houses.
Yeah.
But it is different.
Yeah, ours was quite simple, just to like put it shortly, we like went to all the houses the first day, and we used like this little app. I don't know, to like rank.
Yeah, we.
Oh, actually, yeah, no, I did use it freshman year. And then.
Actually, I'm gonna be totally honest. I am pretty sure my freshman year, when I was on the other side of it,
It was papers.
It was paper.
Yeah.
For the P&Ms, it was paper. Now, and then we put it in, somebody put it into a computer system, and then the computer system did the matching algorithm, but it was on paper because it was 2009.
Yeah. Well, so I've had a lot of experiences. So I went through recruitment.
Yeah.
I recruited. Most people call it a rogue gamma, but I was a recruitment counselor. And I've been on like the back end of recruitment, like the like matching process.
So, well, hold on. Let's rewind. You're getting ahead into, well, I mean, I guess your positions we're all recruitment focused. So how many days?
No, that was just like, those weren't like positions. Like I just like volunteered to help with recruitment last year.
That blows my mind also because I tried to get out of recruitment every year, it felt like.
I only recruited once. Not good.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorite activity either.
Yeah. Being a recruitment counselor was awesome.
I wanted to do that, but.
So awesome. Like the reveal, best part.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but so how many days total was your recruitment process?
It was the full week, but I don't think it started until like Tuesday. So I think like Tuesday, and like I don't remember the order, like chapter, sisterhood.
No, I don't care about that.
Whatever.
I'm just curious.
And then pref was always on Saturday, so like the day that you went to only 2 houses.
Oh, so we did 3 for pref at that point.
So we had 2, and it was always like, oh, you're preffing them and them. Like it was just like kind of, and then bid day was always Sunday.
On Sunday, okay.
Yeah. And bid day like also was different, obviously. So we had our like where they opened their bids like in one of our nice like buildings. I don't know, like just huge buildings. Whatever.
Well, that's how ours was too.
Yeah.
It was like a campus building. Then you got your card.
And then instead of obviously running home to the house, we had all of the.
That's actually a thing.
Yeah. All of the chapters. So we have a pretty big quad. Like our Lincoln Park campus in Chicago has a pretty big quad. So like we always like do stuff on there. So each sorority had their like own balloon arch. Like that you would have to get a balloon arch and it would like be like it would like be whatever your theme was.
Yep.
And like it would like have your letters on it. So you would just run to like
to your section.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so different.
Yeah. And I loved also when you're like a recruitment counselor, you run back home, which was really fun.
Okay, before we move on to like positions, anything else from like freshman year recruitment?
It was just like a crazy process. I think like another big thing at DePaul is like there's not, which I don't know how this is at other schools, but like all of my friends like went to different houses.
Like your friends from high school, or you
my
mean
friends that like I rushed with, like my like roommates and stuff. Like we all like went separate ways.
But you stayed friends with them.
Oh yeah.
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 I hadn't really met anybody. Like I had one roommate,
okay,
and she was in marching band, so she was actually already there early as well. Mm-hmm. So because she had to get there early because they also had to practice before the football season started. So she was there early, but she didn't rush, and so I didn't know anybody. I mean, yeah, did I make like acquaintances in my group? Did you guys have that? I guess if you're in the student center. So one of the things at Texas, you know, like I said, you're going your recruitment group.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you do because you had recruitment counselors. So, I mean, there were ours was by last name. And so there were like, just 17 other Edwards in my recruitment group. And
17, like our recruitment groups were like 7 people.
Oh, ours, I think we're like 30-ish.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I wish I knew the number of like total people that go through recruitment in Texas. It's ginormous. It's a huge number.
No, 100%. Like, couldn't be the more opposite like schools. Like, I feel like.
I know. No, I don't.
Like, I think that we could talk about this in another episode too.
Like our schools and college experience. Yeah. This one is very sorority focused.
Yeah, maybe we're just going to separate those two. I was thinking like we probably would have.
That they would not fit in one episode.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know anybody going into it, but one of my favorite things to always tell people is that very first day on bid day, they put us into little groups. I don't know if they did that for you. Well, your pledge classes were so much smaller. So, I mean, we have 50 people in our pledge class. They put us in like little groups of like 5 or 6.
Like once you ran home?
Once we ran home. Okay. That you're like to introduce yourself and like, so you're not overwhelmed with trying to meet like all 50 people in your pledge class on day 1. And
like 14 people in our pledge class. So.
And
when a chapter got 14 people, it was like a big deal. Like that's a lot of people.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, sorry.
That we had to like have caps I mean, some chapters would take like 70 people on bid day.
That's wild.
It was wild. But in my bid day group was one of my best friends, Jessie. Aww. And that was the day that we met, was we were put into the same bid day group. I know when I look back on those pictures, I'm like tearing up. That's pregnancy hormones. I still can't believe that day that we met, like on bid day freshman year. And now, as of the recording of this episode, she is 37 weeks pregnant and could have a baby any day now. But it's really cool.
We had bid day buddies. So
an active.
So an active was like, so mine ended up being my big, Daniela, and then who I actually saw this past weekend at a wedding, because I went to Los Angeles this weekend, because the girl who was president, like soon after I joined, got married this weekend to a guy in a fraternity that we were really close with. So it was like a big like reunion. So I got to see her, which was super fun, but it all comes full circle.
It really does. The last thing I'll say about freshman year, really your freshman year, is I do remember, like, I really wanted you to be an Alpha Zeta Delta. Like, I just thought that would be so cool and so special.
And I also really wanted you to want to be an Alpha Zeta Delta.
I know, and it had nothing to do with that, but it's just acknowledging that not only are the chapters different at different schools. Like, I could not expect that you were going to fit in with the Alpha Zeta Deltas at DePaul. But at the same time, 9 years is a huge gap. Even if you had gone to Texas, there's no guarantee you would have fit in with the girls at Texas.
Yeah. Like, I feel like when I was going through the process, I tried to keep AZD on my, roster.
Yeah. List.
My ranking, like, for a while, but then I say for a while, like, for, like, a day and a half. But, there were so many chapters that, like,
fit better.
Yeah.
And I knew that.
They were small, too. I think they didn't, like...
It wasn't, yes.
There was the smaller ones.
They had that was it. They became a chapter when I was in college. And I remember thinking, because, again, Allie's dad was a professor at DePaul, so it was very likely that she was going to end up there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, DePaul has an Alpha Zeta Delta chapter. Allie could be an AZD. This would be so cool. Mm-hmm. But, they were brand new. They had just become a chapter. And so they were probably very small. And so if you didn't click with those girls, you weren't,
Yeah, I will say, one of the things I liked most about them was their philanthropy. But also, when I was a recruitment counselor, my recruitment counselor buddy, the other girl who was also a recruitment counselor, was an AZD. Mm-hmm. And I just, loved her. There was a lot of girls, in that chapter that I really liked. But
even 4 years is a big difference, too, right? The girl who was your buddy was your age. But when you rushed, it was girls older than you, and you may not have clicked with them. Mm-hmm. Actually, chapters change.
To just quickly explain recruitment counselor, basically you go undercover and you help girls go through recruitment without saying what chapter you're in, so you can be an unbiased person to help
for them to talk to.
Yeah. And then at the end on bid day, you reveal your chapter and run home with them. And so we had all of our girls guess what we were in. Yep. And actually, most of them said AZD, which was crazy. Wow. But, they either said, AZD or Find You. And it was, I think they were what?
Shocked. That's so interesting.
But I feel they started to catch on a little bit when, I started, talking to other, recruitment counselors, and we, and they were oh, well, I think she's this. Because you have to, archive pictures and, all of that.
Yeah, you have to, hide your social media profiles and stuff. Yeah.
And I was so upset because they put me in the recruitment video. And I was guys, I was so excited to reveal, but they didn't even notice.
They didn't notice it was
they were so shocked. But I did get to run home with 2 girls in my group, so that was fun.
That was fun. Moving on to positions.
Yeah.
We definitely did different things in that realm. Mm-hmm. I decided I wanted to be house manager. Which
we obviously didn't even have.
You obviously didn't even have that, which was kind of this liaison between the house mom and a set of alumni who was in charge of helping with expenses and keeping the house up to date, and then obviously all the girls. And so I dealt a lot with contracts. There's a lot of organization. I got to do room assignments and that kind of stuff. I actually did it for 2 years because I really enjoyed it. That's why I lived in the house for so long. I did not, even though I feel I am a natural, I like to be the leader of things, I never had any desire to be on exec. It felt
it is an experience.
Yeah, it just felt too much that I didn't want to deal with.
It's really a lot. And I'm sure more so at a
bigger
state
school.
But like, I mean, super rewarding, super great, but it did feel kind of like an unpaid job. Like I was very like, I probably didn't, like when I compare like my job, schoolwork, and Alpha Phi towered over all of them.
Yeah. And that's the point. I mean, it gives you a lot of great experience. It's something to put on your resume, and like you're giving back to your chapter. So tell, like, what were your positions?
I won't even touch on the freshman year one because like.
We couldn't even have them freshman year.
So we had like directors, which like sometimes we give to freshmen because they're not like, some of them aren't like really that like difficult. But like mine was like parent and alumni relations, and the only thing that was like an assignment in that position was like to do an alumni event or a parent weekend. And like it's just not realistic in a city. And, like, so that position I don't even put on my resume. I don't even say whatever. So it's kind of all over the place. I always stayed in the events. So
shocker.
Yeah. So like my sophomore year I was director of events. Or I guess I was director of, so the problem is the position that director of events is under changed. So like we had.
Who cares what the name is? Like just say what you did.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess what I mean by that is like I was under the like risk management, so like the bad guy, which my best friend was actually the VP of risk management, Leslie, when I was her director. But like then it like changed. This is important. It changed to health, wellness, and accountability. So now it went from having director of external and director of internal events, and it changed to director of events, director of philanthropy, director of like 6 more director positions.
Right,
so it was like
to do, yeah.
Long story short, I just did basically all the mixers and socials and those kinds of things. And then when I got health, wellness, and accountability, then I did also the philanthropy events, all the events, like literally every event that we do, social media management, standards, literally all of the things. Not a lot of people.
Well, that's all right.
But you had to be the bad guy.
Somebody had to be the bad guy.
And I was like kind of strict about it, only because like I cared about like the way we looked on social media. It's like classy, like be classy, But and then my last position, sorry, I'm like ranting or like going off, but like which was probably my favorite. I was so we have our philanthropy event is like the Red Dress Gala, which I'm sure you've heard of because it's like every Alpha Phi chapter does it. But I was the chairwoman, so I got to plan like the whole gala over like an 8-month period. It was harder than any wedding I've ever done, for sure. Because it's like adding like the donations, managing all the girls in my chapter and having them all have to do something. Like we just got a venue that was a blank space, so I had to figure out food, I had to figure out DJ, I had to figure out all the things basically with a team. But like, again, like I mentioned,
not the resources of a wedding.
Yeah, but like I mentioned in previous episodes, like I'm an independent person, so which I had a lot of trouble with when I had a position, had directors, because I would want to do everything. So I would like force myself to do like monthly meetings with my directors so I could give them things
to do. That's interesting.
But yeah, and that gala was so rewarding. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So many experiences.
Yeah. Lots of my life went to that chapter, but AOE.
I know if you have never been in a sorority, every sorority has like their little phrase that you don't know what it means unless you're in it. That's yours. And you kind of know the other sororities because they like will put them in comments. Ours is TFJ.
Love that. I loved it though. Like I really did.
Me too.
I'm so glad I did it. I met so many great people.
Yeah.
And like even the advisors are great.
Well, now it's funny because you're probably not far enough removed yet, right? But my college friends are now the advisors to our chapter.
Yeah, so
it's been 10 years.
Yeah, my roommate is the financial advisor right now, and she graduated with me.
Oh.
Elise, yeah.
Oh, Elise.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like, and
that's crazy.
We have a funny picture of like us, and it's like me. It's like her trying to convince me to like be an advisor, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I just need a break. But like, I've been asked a couple times.
Yeah, maybe someday.
But I love how this whole episode just became about Greek life.
Greek life, yeah. We had intended to do like college versus like college experiences, but that maybe could be its own. But at the end of the day, the sorority was a big piece of our college experience. There wasn't a whole, besides like actual class, like what else was there?
Yeah, like when
when
I really think back to college, it's like all I think about.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, oh yeah, I also got an education.
Great. I also have a degree.
Yeah.
But it's not the main thing that
like I'd be in class making spreadsheets for Alpha Phi.
Right.
Oh my god.
So, all right. I feel like we've probably been talking about this long enough.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely sparked another topic or two, which is what's going to happen. Yeah. So I would love to hear from you. Were you in a sorority? What sorority were you in? Say hello, and we'll see you soon.